Hey, this is Pastor Tony. Welcome to this week's Sunday Leftovers. Let me start with a question. When's the last time you thanked God not for the result, but for the process that's getting you there? This week at Calvary, we continued our series, The Way of Gratitude in the Process, where we looked at Philippians chapter 2, verses 12 through 18, where Paul reminds us that gratitude isn't something you arrive at once life gets easier. It's something you discover while you're walking through the challenge. Paul says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, for it is God who is working in you both to will and to work according to his good purpose. That's one of those verses that really should stop us in our tracks, because it's not about earning salvation, it's about expressing it. Obedience is gratitude in motion. Every day you choose to trust God in the small things, when nobody's watching, when you'd rather skip going that extra mile. That's part of the process he's using to grow you. I mentioned in my message that I've been trying to improve my health by walking several times a week. And at first, 1 mile felt like a marathon, but little by little it stretched to 5. And somewhere along the way, I stopped obsessing over the distance and started enjoying the discipline. That's how obedience works. Gratitude grows when you realize the process is the progress. And then Paul says, do everything without grumbling and arguing, so that you may be blameless and pure, and shine like stars in the world. And that's a really tall order. Do everything without grumbling. And we sort of laughed about this on Sunday, but that truly does mean everything. Gratitude and complaint cannot share the same heart. One is going to crowd out the other. The Israelites learned that the hard way in the wilderness. They saw God part the Red Sea. They watched him rain down manna, and they still complained. Gratitude evaporates when we focus on what's missing instead of who's present. And Paul flips that script. He tells us to hold firm to the word of life, the gospel, because it anchors us when everything else is shaking. Now, contentment doesn't mean that we're supposed to pretend that things aren't hard. It means believing God is still good. Gratitude becomes your steady light in a world full of noise. It might be right now that you're in a season of chaos. Job stress, family tensions, the holidays are coming up. There's all kinds of uncertainty and things like that. Listen, the invitation is simple. Trade your complaint for confidence. The darker it gets, the brighter gratitude shines. Paul finishes the passage with something incredible. He says, even if I am poured out as a drink offering on the sacrificial service of your faith, I'm glad and rejoice with all of you. This is what Paul is saying. Even if my life is being completely spent for the sake of the gospel, I'm still rejoicing. And that's a level of gratitude that can only come from having a deep personal relationship with Jesus. Paul's not thankful for the pain. He's thankful that God can use the pain. He sees his suffering as worship. One of the stories I didn't get to tell on Sunday was about an old missionary couple who came home after decades overseas and felt forgotten. The husband was discouraged until his wife said, "We're not home yet." That one line reframed everything. Gratitude lives with that same eternal perspective. We're not home yet, but we're closer with every step. Whatever you're pouring out right now, whether it's time or effort or prayer or energy, I want you to know God sees it. Nothing surrendered to him is ever wasted. So how do we live gratitude in the process this week? Well, let's make it simple. Obey daily. Stay grateful. Keep pouring. When you feel tired, remember that obedience in the small things builds endurance for the big things. When frustration hits, choose commitment over complaint. Pray instead of pout. And when life seems like you're being poured out, I want you to see it as worship. God wants you to see it as worship. Gratitude isn't seasonal. It's spiritual. It's the rhythm of a heart that knows that God is still working. Every step you take, He is shaping something eternal. Thanks for joining me today for this week's Sunday Leftovers. If it encouraged you, I'd like to ask you to share it with somebody who might need a reminder that God's still working in their process. Next week, we're going to move into week 3 of the Way of Gratitude, and we're going to talk about gratitude in the purpose, what it means to live with purpose. We'll talk about how gratitude fuels mission, living thankfully by serving faithfully. Until then, I want to encourage you, keep walking, keep trusting, and keep choosing gratitude, even in the middle of the process. God bless you, church family.